Hello, everybody. My name is
Robin.
and welcome to
Ableton.
These are my top 5 epic workflow tips. Number 4 will surprise you. Number 1. Make good life choices. Number 2. Use templates. Templates are a really great way to save time and focus more on actually making music, not just clicking on menus and shit. To create a template, first you wanna, you gotta make the template. Add whatever tracks and settings you want into your DAW, and then go up to File, Save Live Set as Template. Or, if you want this to be your default set, do File, Save Live Set as Default Set. Pretty self-explanatory. For those of you who still use Logic, it's pretty similar. Templates are helpful for a variety of situations. For example, if you work with a band you frequently record, you can create a template with all the tracks set up and ready to record. If you're like me and you do a lot of laptop music, having folders for different kinds of instruments and sounds is very helpful. I'm very particular about my template. Every sound needs to be in the right folder, and the track headers need to be color-coded. Drums are always at the top, followed by bass, keyboards, etc. If you do it another way, you are wrong. All of my MIDI tracks by default have this max patch.
Editor's note. This is a part of my template, but I forgot to explain how to change your default MIDI track. Right-clicking a track and selecting Save as Default MIDI Track will put whatever effects are on that track onto every new MIDI track you make. This also works for audio tracks.
All of my MIDI tracks by default have this max patch called Track Pitch on them, except for the percussion ones. There's another one that goes on the master track called Master Pitch, and it can transpose all the MIDI tracks with the Track Pitch plugin on them. I find this very useful for checking if certain harmonies sound weird by changing the key. I found this workaround since, for whatever godforsaken reason, Ableton lacks a global transpose function like Logic does. Number 3. Sends. Holy shit, please, for the love of God. This isn't a tip, this is an order. We are all brothers on this beautiful planet, but some of you put so many individual instances of reverb on individual tracks and it gives me heartburn. I'll be the first to admit, I used to do that. And then, like a year ago, Chris Warren explained to me how unnatural it sounds. And I remember saying to him something along the lines of, wait, you can tell when we do that? And he could. So I never did it again. I'm a changed man. When you put separate instances of reverb on multiple tracks, you are doing a couple things. You are first and foremost putting unnecessary strain on your computer. You are making it do more work than it needs to, and this can cause problems from crashes to infertility. The second thing you are doing is you are processing each track's audio signal as if it is in its own room. If every track has its own reverb signal, it's like you've got a bunch of parts in different rooms and it sounds unnatural and can get all muddled up, and you shouldn't do it unless it's a specific sound that you want. What you can do to solve this problem is use a return track. In Ableton, you can use return tracks to send signals from tracks into the effects on a return track. There are two main ways you can use a return track. You can have it set to pre or post, short for pre-fader and post-fader. Pre-fader means that the signal that you're sending to the return track is being sent before being attenuated by the track's fader. Post-fader means that the signal that you're sending to the return track is first being attenuated by the track's fader. All that is to say, you can use sends and return tracks to put multiple signals into the same reverb tracks. And depending on the settings, you can use them to independently control the dry and wet reverb signals of those tracks. I tend to prefer using pre-fader return tracks for reverb, but you can make a case for using post-fader ones instead. When you do this, you're putting all these signals into the same room, instead of having a bunch of separate rooms. This makes a lot more sense to our ears. It makes your mix more coherent. Number 4. Sends and return chains in drum racks. When I first discovered this, I was so excited. You can now send individual chains in your drum rack into return chains, which can then go into the return tracks of your set. First, you click on this little dingle here with the 3 bulleted lines. This unlocks 3 new icons. You'll see one that's an S, one that's an R, and a grayed out one that says I/O. S toggles the sends on your drum chains. R toggles the return chains on your drum rack. I/O toggles the output drop-down menu for each chain, as well as the MIDI I/O and choke option. To create a return chain, right-click this area and select Create Return Chain. Now you can put whatever audio effects, if any, you want to send your drum signals through. You can then send audio signals into these return chains using these send sliders. What I like to do is put nothing on the return chain and then go over to this drop-down menu where you can select the output of the chain. By default, it will be set to rack output, which means that the audio signal just comes out of the track that the drum rack is on, but you can change this to be one of your return tracks. This means you can send audio from individual drum chains right into your main reverb return track. Now you can get that nice wet snare without making a separate track just for it. Very epic.
Number 5.
My favorite key commands. Holding Option while hovering over an automation line allows you to curve the line. Command-Shift-M creates a new clip in the area that you've selected. Holding Option while opening or closing a group will open or close every group. This also works for groups within groups. 0 toggles clips on and off. Command-E splits a clip at the playhead. R reverses audio clips. That's all I have today. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, Google is free. You can ask me too, I guess. This video is on YouTube if you want to rewatch it.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.